Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday live stream. Today, we're talking about is President Trump's cyber strategy for America. Now, this was actually just put out today, I believe, and it was pretty interesting because it's a very short document. It's roughly 6 pages, with the first one just being the main letter stay or the main graphic. But in these very short amounts of pages, you can see what's happening and the ideals for the current administration. And there's two things that really struck out at me. First, when they talk about, this is on page 4, and I linked this in the description. You guys can check this out. It's from the whitehouse.gov. It's the official PDF or document of what they're talking about here. And what they say was pretty interesting. They say, by disrupting adversaries' cyber campaigns and making our networks more defensible and resilient, we will unleash innovation, accelerate economic growth, boy, we sure hope so, and secure American tech dominance. We will remove burdensome, ineffective regulations so that our industry partners innovate quickly in emerging technologies. I want to read that last sentence one more time. We will remove burdensome, ineffective regulations so that our industry partners innovate quickly in emerging technology. That's quite interesting because the Clarity Act looks like it's DOA or dead. This is actually from yesterday from BSCN. Banks look like they rejected the White House stablecoin reward deal, and they're going to stall the Clarity Act for as long as they can. So if we had our hopes pinned on that, it looks like it's either going to be pushed back or it's going to be dying outright. Now we'll see what happens with the banks. I mean, I understand why they're a part of it. Unfortunately, they have to be there because as they push things forward, they are a part of, unfortunately, Congress, as they pretty much pay their way through it. But if we were looking for a little positivity for the Clarity Act, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. So this first part here is great, but you got to live up to the promise. And right now, to get through that burdensome, ineffective regulations that have been stopping any kind of yield on stable coins, well, you have to pass that law. And then comes the big stuff where we actually talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And it says, and it states here in the last page, and again, very short document, but they carved out time to talk about crypto. So I think that's a pretty big move in the right direction. Securing American innovation and protecting our national intellectual advantage will be paramount. We will build secure tech and supply chains that protect user privacy from design to deployment, including supporting the security of cryptocurrencies. That would include Bitcoin and the other best altcoins, Binance, Ethereum, Solana, Tron, just saying, and blockchain technologies. So they've carved out a reference here in the document. They've put it in there. This is a national stance for the Trump administration to make sure the security of cryptocurrencies is actually paramount and they move forward. And the last part's even more interesting. We will promote the adoption of post-quantum cryptography. Now, if you've been following along with this, there are a lot of big names, a lot of institutions, a lot of investors saying we're really upset about what could potentially happen with quantum computing and Bitcoin, how it's going to unravel everything. We actually took a look at this. There's a link in the description as far as why quantum computing will not unravel Bitcoin anytime soon. It will, but there's steps that are going on right now. And actually, Michael Saylor has actually come out with MicroStrategy saying we will fund Bitcoin post cryptography or quantum computing. And then lastly, it states, and we will secure the AI tech stack, including data centers, and promote innovation in AI security. So again, a very short document, but very telling which way the current presidential administration is going. So let me just think about that in the comment section. That would lead to our next piece on AI, Kevin Warsh. Now, Kevin is going to take the place of Jerome Powell. He is the next Fed Reserve Chair. And in this 1-minute interview, he tells us what the problem is with the Fed, what he wants to change, and the things that we have to look out for as we are entering in a whole new era. And he actually talks about the big dreaded R word, or recession. So just take a listen to this.
And I think, listen, my sense is that this is, we're at the forefront. We're at a transformational moment in U.S. economic history. This is, as George Shultz told me before he passed, a hinge point in history. I think the president's language is this could be a golden age. And frankly, I think they all could be right. Good policies could advance this U.S. economy, what we call AI. In a couple of years, we'll just call business. And AI is going to make almost everything cost less. And the U.S. can be a big winner. And it's a hugely exciting moment. If I were to step back for a minute, If I were the president, what I'd be worried about is a central bank that doesn't see any of that. A central bank that is stuck with models from 1978, governance from a prior period, and don't recognize we could be at the front end of a productivity boom. And if I were the president, I'd be worried that they might not see it. And they might think economic growth is somehow going to be inflationary. I think we were probably in the early innings of a structural decline in prices. Ken sees it on the front lines of real businesses. And I think if you look over the period of the next year or two, it's a pretty special moment.
Yeah, so it's a special moment if everything kind of works out. But what he said right there was true. The Federal Reserve is looking at old models. And I think because of that, they are much of a laggard. And unfortunately, I think it's actually stifled some innovation. Now, what's going to happen in the future is up to the Fed. Jerome Powell doesn't step down until April. So he's just got what? Actually, that'd be next month. Wow, look at that. Time is flying. So we'll see what happens here, but he does make a lot of good points. And if we don't go in the right direction at the right time, it will be pretty much a downtrodden time frame for the United States and, of course, the world. And like he talks about, as far as AI, and this is the big thing, is, and we talked about this yesterday, AI, I think, the people that will adopt AI will become 10 times more productive. The people, institutions, even government agencies that don't adopt AI will fall by the wayside. And unfortunately, it will affect jobs. This is Charlie Baleo. And he says the U.S. is in a downward spiral as far as job growth. The U.S. lost an average of 1,000 jobs per month over the last 6 months. Before the last 5 months was a negative 6-month moving average. This is the 12th time we've seen this much weakness in the job market since 1950. Let me say that again. The 12th time we've seen this much weakness in the job market since the 50s. And guess what? In the previous 11 times, the U.S. economy was in a recession. This is the 12th time, and we're not in a recession yet. So that's why I named this title like I named it, Recession Fun Incoming. Because if you look at it, how much time does a recession usually go for? And how bad does it really go? And how do we even define what actually a recession is? Well, we actually pulled this data up from Statista a couple times. And on average, over all the different recessions, going back all the way to 1948, a recession lasts an average of 10 months. And that is a recession in the economy. But as you may or may not know, in recessions, the first thing to bounce back is the markets. It's not the economy. It's not people and their jobs. It's the markets. The markets bounce back first. Here's an example. So we're taking a look at the great 90s when we had a nice little recession here. That was about 9 months or so. But the recession to the market, bottom from the market, only took 3.5 months. And then 5 months later, it bounced up like crazy. And that's where the market bottom recession end started, or actually at 5 months at the end. So you had 3.5 months of a downward effect for the actual stock market, but then it bounced back, and over 5 months, it was at an all-time high. So same thing here with 2000, 2001 to 2002. It actually was 6 months. And then, of course, the recession, the economy doesn't recover for another 2, and then we kind of get out of it. Now we're seeing like 8, 9 months or so. But again, market bottoms first, then the economy. Same thing in 2007, 8, and 9. But this one took a lot longer. This was the Great Recession. And it took 15 months. Now, the reason why I show you this, 15, 6, and 3.5, is because there is a little bit of an elongation. And I want you to be prepared. Will this happen? It's anybody's guess. I've been hearing about a recession for the last 2 years. I think you have too. Some people are saying we're already in a recession. And the funny thing is how do we actually define it? We'll go over that in a second. But what I want to point out to you is this. This is the perfect time to have these types of things if you are in the market. If you are just day-to-day operations, job market type of individual, this, of course, is scary. I cannot deny that. However, if you're looking at just through the eyes of a market investor, these are opportunities. We have a sphere of control. What can we control? What can we not? This is one of those things. So if we have this much time, what do we do with it? Well, we do it with the same thing we do every 4 years in a Bitcoin cycle. Just like in 2022, just like in 2018, just like in 2014, if you were around, you accumulate. I know people hate to say that or hate to talk about that, but that's where I made all my money. It wasn't in 2001, it wasn't in 2017. I had to actually to buy when everybody else was selling like crazy and do the exact opposite of what people thought I should do. Of course, it's 2020. But the question then is, if we're talking about recessions, are we in a recession? Because we take a look at the old style or the old way to say it, to define a recession, is, well, it's a slowdown. It's 2 quarters of economic decline, just taking a look at GDP reduction. And if you look at that, we're already in a recession. Q3 of 2023 to 2024, you already had two periods of GDP decline. Q3, it's the same thing. Actually, you had 3 periods of economic decline, right? You went from 3.6 GDP, 3.3, 1.9 to negative 0.6. So why are we in a recession? It's because that 2 quarters of economic decline or GDP decline was just something that was coined in the 1970s, and it never really was how we defined a recession. We actually defined a recession by the NBER, the National Bureau of Economic Research. And they're the ones that call it. Unfortunately, they call it kind of late, but this is the criteria they look at. They look at how deep is it, if it's just a blip, how long is it going to be, and is it global or is it local? And they took a look at 6 indicators: personal income, how much you're making; payrolls, how many jobs are out there; employment, if it's going up or down, it's going up right now; personal consumption, who's spending what; wholesale retail sales, who's selling what; and the industrial production. So we take a look at those 6 criteria and we flip them for today. Here's where we're at as far as like calling it a recession. Non-farm payrolls came out in February and it sucked. We decreased the amount of jobs by 92,000. We just took a look at Charlie Baleo and he just told us, look, this is the 12th time out of 11 we should be in recession. As far as non-farm payrolls, it's slowing down. We are losing jobs. As far as like unemployment rate, we went from 4.2, actually 3.6, 4.2, then back to 3.8. Now we're at like 4.2, then 4.4%. So unemployment rate's up, non-farm payrolls down, real personal income is pretty much flat. As far as real personal, or stalled, I should say, treading water, the same thing. Real consumption, what are people actually buying as far as wholesale retail sales? It's strong. For some reason, we seem to be buying a lot of things. Then industrial production is actually down 1.7% from the peak. Industrial production, don't get that confused with ISM, PMI industrial. That's just a, how you feeling type of thing. Industrial production is actually like, what are you producing? How many things are we producing? Give me some hard data. And that comes out every single month, and we're going down negative 1.7%. So if you take a look at all this stuff, we're pretty close to a recession. But economists say, well, it's about 35, maybe 35% chance that actually happening. So that, in a nutshell, is how you define a recession. And it looks like we're going towards it. But again, I've been hearing this for 2 years. Anyhow, let me know what you think about that in the comments section. And lastly, before we get off the recession talk, I will just remind everybody, and here's the positivity that I promised. I'm really bad at this as far as positivity. But every time there's a recession, you may notice one thing. This is the M2 money supply. In gray, or this little like light white here, the money supply tends to increase. Now it increases regardless, but it tends to get like a little bit of a kick during these recessions. And you can see it right around here, 2000, 2001, 2002. We had a nice little uptake from like 5 trillion to 5.4 trillion. Here in 2007, 8, and 9, we were at 7.5, and we went all the way up to 8.5. So that's a nice $1 trillion in about a year. And then, of course, the big one still doesn't make any sense to me. In 2020, during the coronavirus, we went from 15 trillion all the way up to 16, another 1, and then we just kept going. So if you like money printers, you know how good that is for the markets. I think you're going to love what's going to happen. And lastly, before we get into the Q&A, is wars are good for the economy. I hate to say it like that, but it's true. This is from Donald Trump, and he says, we just concluded a very good meeting with the largest U.S. defense manufacturing company where we discussed production and production schedules. They have created quadruple production of the exquisite class weaponry that we want to reach. And who is this mysterious company they're talking about? Well, it's none other than Lockheed Martin, who, I got to tell you, that's a pretty slick move to repost the tweet by Donald Trump on Truth Social and say, hey, we are going to do that. We have agreed to quadruple critical munitions production. So I don't know about you, but Lockheed Martin might be something to invest into as the price goes up. Look at this over that's 1 day. It's 2.5%. Look at 5 days. It's actually down. And look at 1 month. It's up, not too bad. But look at this, over 6 months, it's up almost 50%. So tell me someone didn't know something about that. And that's it for today. So look, like today's video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing. Everybody talk about it's time sensitive. Now let's get into a little Q&A, answer all your questions, and we'll go from there. All right, where are we? Let me go all the way to the top. This is always good. Let's see. Hello from Sarasota. Shaolin is correct. Clarity Act was needed by the banks, not by crypto. Without regulation help the banks, they will lose to new technology. You know, can't argue with that. It's kind of like when the folks from Blockbuster had a nice meeting with Netflix, and they laughed them out of the building. No one's going to buy that stuff. And the reason why they said it, like, the internet's not that fast. You can't stream those levels of movies that you want to over such poor optics to get those into the homes of your U.S. subscriber. They said, technology will catch up, and it did. We got fiber optic cables, and all of a sudden, everybody's able to stream things. And where's Blockbuster now? Very true. Like a horse and buggy. That's right. I think it was Henry Ford. He said, if I had to wait and believe what people wanted for transportation, I would have bought them a faster horse and a faster buggy. They don't know what they want. I'll tell them what they want. They want cars. And that was it. Ephraim's here. Buy the dip, sure. Silver lining is that no yield might make it so people still have a reason to hold governance tokens. Yeah. Or some types of T-bills and treasuries, like AVAX algo. Oh, AVAX and algo, sure. Zoran says winter is here to stay till 2027. Probably. I mean, if you still believe in the 4-year cycles, I still see it. And that's why, like, if you haven't taken some profits here for a couple cycles and you didn't buy it, like, Bitcoin at 64,000 or all-time highs last time, still in some profits, I urge you to reconsider and maybe think about taking some of those profits as we start to see everything bleed out. Again, like we talked about, March is, historically speaking, a nice little rally month, but then it starts to slowly bleed out again in April and May. And then you might have another little rally in June, July, and it slowly bleeds out until October, November, then you get your low. So it's up to you, but taking profits, they say Bitcoin is freedom, but unloading some bags, they get heavy. You can only carry bags so much, and your back starts to hurt, and your knees hurt. Maybe that's just me. All right. If you were truly positive one day, Rob, we would think you were abducted by aliens like Jim Carrey and replaced with a lookalike. I think Jim Carrey got replaced by a plastic surgeon. I don't know what happened to that. Poor Jimmy. Sam says, thoughts on Iran situation, being an Army veteran. I despise all wars because it seems like we're going over there and do the grunt work and do everything else. However, you take a look at the regime that is in Iran and how awful they were. This is a geopolitical channel. These are the things that I see. So I can just tell you these are the things I see. I think it's an abomination that you have a government that will, wipe out protesters and en masse, And of course, people will say, well, the government does wipe out protesters. Rob, haven't you heard of ICE and those 2 incidences? That's 2 incidents. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if that's going to be resolved in the courts or whatnot. That's 2 individuals. Let's start talking about the thousands and tens of thousands that have been killed over there. And let's talk about the ones that were tortured and murdered and were not returned to their family without paying money to the government. I don't know. I think it's sad and awful. But again, my heart goes out to the I mean, we've already lost service members already. I think 6 to 7 have already passed away. They've been killed in action. That's awful. Awful. So this situation in Iran, I hope gets resolved very quickly. And yeah, hopefully it does. I will remind everybody, do you think that World War II was a just and noble war that we should have gotten into? Because I just saw a snippet. It was a history blog post about when everything broke out for World War II. We weren't a part of that war in the beginning until obviously the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And nationwide, they could take polls and they could ask people, not as effective as we are today. And 90% of Americans said we should not be involved in World War II. And there was actually protests that you could see of people saying we do not want to be a part of World War II. And, you know, I think nowadays people would say that it's a good thing we did, else we all be speaking German. All right. Anyhow, enough of that question. Diesel went from euro 1.6 to 1.9. How's the gas prices for everybody? Because here in Puerto Rico, always super expensive. And there was this thing I was going to show everybody. This thing ever loads. I'll get to it in a bit. But yeah, I hear that gas prices, especially in California, skyrocketed. They have massive amount of taxes over there. Houston, probably the same thing. When I go back to Texas, probably be reasonably good. But yeah, wow, $5 in California, $5.10 in LA, $4.50. Someone's gonna deal. Jeff must go to Costco. And what? $3.30. It's kind of like what we have. Actually, here's 90 cents a liter. Uh-oh. That filled done my back in. Any advice? Go to an acupuncturist. I know people are going to laugh at me. I said the same thing. So I don't believe in that, but it does work. Go find a really good physiotherapist. And if you go to a doctor and he's a surgeon, he's going to tell you that you're going to need surgery, whatever. If it's an L5S1 herniated disc like me, they'll do that. So do all the natural stuff you possibly can. If you can't move, obviously go see your doctor. Hopefully an MRI can distinguish what it is. But if it's just that, acupuncture, water, rest ice, compression, all that stuff. And find a good physiotherapist. There's one that I actually found on YouTube. His name is Bob the Physiotherapist. And he's great. And he got me back. Acupuncture does work. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but here we are. Dry needling, yeah. Gemini card. Use your Gemini card to get acupuncture. Wow, $2.90 per gallon. Ah, this is a good one. Vibration therapy. Power plate is expensive. I'm trying a V2007, much cheaper, 10-year warranty. I'm gonna guess maybe you can get that on, I don't even know what that is. Well, I know what a power plate is, but I don't know what a VT007 is. Sounds good. I miss cheaper gas. We all miss cheaper gas. $4.50 in Cali. US are the good guys though, Rob. Nobody's perfect. But I'd rather bet in America than anybody else. I'd rather live in America than anywhere else. And I will not ever apologize for that. Yes, welcome. America. Do you think Tom Lee will flee the country if that BMNR stock doesn't go up? Then maybe. No, I think Tom will be just fine. And that BMNR stock is actually, after the announcement, it did pretty good, but it's up. Let's take a look. Oh. BMNR. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, over the daily, let's see here. Over the daily, not too great. 5 days, 1 month. Damn, 12% in 1 month. How about 6 months? Damn, 57% down. Wow. But here's where it gets interesting. If you take a look at a year, actually go 5 years. BMNR beforehand wasn't a great stock. Just wasn't. Really didn't do much. And then when they announced for to be a digital asset treasury for Ethereum, it went up to 135 bucks. Then it crashed to 40. But you're going to see over here, let me max out. Oh, that is it. Still above the regular price. 20 bucks compared to 7,845. Yeah, not too bad. I think BitMine's only started to go down. Rob using Super Grok. I've used them all. Did you guys know that you can do AI agents in Super Grok now? In Grok, I guess. Let me show you. Let's see what this looks like. No, it's not it. Aha. History private. That's not it. Okay, just taking a look at this. That's a lot of stuff to go through. Here, I just want to make sure I wasn't going to show you anything personal. Or not like, you know, my password or something like that. So if you go to Super Grok or just grok.com, and you're in Grok, right, you're doing all this stuff. If in the bottom left-hand corner, if you can see it. Can't see it. Oh, no, you really can't see it. On the bottom left-hand corner will be your profile. And you just click on that and you go to settings. And you go to customize. And he has your agents, Grok, and then you can create your own AI agent here on Grok. So let's say you want to have it only search for particular things or do certain things. It can't really like personally go for, you know, actually, it's as far as like post different things much, because mine's on Grok Concise, which it uses 4 different agents to kind of go back and forth and see which one is the reality. Because unfortunately with AI, and I think people who have dealt with this before, they seem to lie a lot. I don't know why they are such a bunch of liars. I think it's because they get the data that they're supposed to, and they just interpret or expect or predict how you're going to answer a question. So it already has an answer for you, even though it's the wrong answer. And they do these things called hallucinations, where they just make stuff up. And with this one under Concise, it has 4 of them that will like double check, quadruple check, triple check what the first one said. So I try to get the most accurate information I can to you all. So yeah, but yeah, check that out. Super Grok, AI agents. All right. Fill the bags. Fill the bags. Question: we see a lot of stocks falling after a great earnings report. What's the mentality and strategy that's behind this? If you do any kind of search for, just do 2026 recession on YouTube, there is no shortage of people saying that there's going to be a recession. And if you do like a search for AI job losses, there's no shortage of people talking about how every single company is going to be affected massively because of what's happening with AI. And I don't discount that. It definitely will. We're definitely going to lose jobs on one part, but people think it's going to be like it just wipes out everything. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's not going to wipe out every single job that's out there. Just the ones that are using it now, the ones that are ahead of everything. Those are going to be the winners. And that's just pretty much how it is. Like you watching this. I mean, people talk about it, but if you're on like different threads on X, you'll find that people are using this for, you know, crazy ways to do things and build businesses. And are they lying to me or to us? Probably half of them are. I still think there's a bunch of liars out there, but I think some are legitimate, and I think they will actually make it go forward. I've already tried it with OpenClaw. Horrible experience, cost a lot of money, and that's what you get when you go through the first time. But now I'm going to give it another go around. We'll see. But, why is everything falling? Because people believe that AI is going to take over everything, and they're scared, and they want to take money out. And who either? So take your pick. It's some of those. I think the only thing that's really holding up some the markets are the sevens and the AI stocks, the Googles, the Teslas, the Nvidias. It's the majority of gains right there. Let's see. How was Bobby? Well, Bobby's good. I mean, he did do one thing well. I mean, he took profits along the way. Awful gambler, likable guy, real fun at parties, but he's a little subdued these days. Yeah. Different jobs will be created. My boss says don't let the door hit me on the way out. Also true. Oh, wow. Amazon Fresh is closing stores in the US, replacing them with Whole Foods. Sounds okay. Oh, look at that. Very nice. Yeah. My friend Mag 7 shorted leverage, of course. It's most of what I do, but I still owe the raw philosophy for most people. Anyway, killing that short. Wow. Look at that. How was the S&P 500 doing? Yeah. Down a percentage. What about 5 days though? Yeah. What a month? Down 3%. 6. Well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that would do it. I think the only that's actually buoying then would be, let's see how Nvidia is doing. 3%. Yeah. 6%. Wow. 5%. One within 6 months. It's pretty good. 207. Wow. 207 to 177 from the high of October. Boy, it seemed like October was a great month to sell everything. Wish I would have sold more. I think that's pretty much it. In front. You should tell Bobby to short the market with low leverage. I can help him. Yeah. Remember when Rob jumped in that green screen pool? Good time. When we hit 100K. Yeah, we'll be back again. We just got time. Anyhow, everybody, that's it for today. I think we're going a little over time. So get out there, enjoy your Saturday. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Jerry will be joining us from Costa Rica. We'll probably talk a little bit about AI and some of the things that are going on in the crypto sphere. But that's it for today. Thanks much, everybody. I appreciate you. See you in the next one. Adios.